Welcome and good luck.
Thank you, Board, for inviting us over. In regards to CEO compensation, there are 4 ethical issues that we want to address. The first one is CEO pay unreasonable based on its gross magnitude? So for example, the truth of the matter is people's sentiments are hurt by the fact that somebody is making so much money in the company. The bigger part is, when does it become objectionable and when does it become unobjectionable? If a highly paid CEO is considered greedy based on the absolute number of how much he or she is earning, when does it become objectionable? Is $30 million a lot, or 500 grand? Is that a lot? It's really difficult to put an absolute value and compare it because everybody has a different frame of reference, right? It's difficult. So consider an example of a manager in the US who earns $100 a day. And he or she may think this is not enough. But $100 a day in China, to him, he would believe that this is more than enough for him. So because of the frame of reference is so different, it's really difficult to compare. Now the second ethical issue is CEO pay unreasonable based on its comparative magnitude? And what we mean by that is, how do you know if a CEO is overpaid, or how do you know if an average worker is underpaid, such as a clerical worker? The mathematical ratio comparing them on its face cannot answer this question. It's difficult to take a number and compare apples and oranges. So the first 2 ethical issues it's a matter of debate. There are no answers to these questions. But however, the third and fourth issue, we believe that there is room for improvement. The third issue is, how does high CEO pay violate the principles of justice and fairness? So there's been a number of psychological studies on the human brain, and the studies show that people actually have a deep sense of fairness. For example, the ultimatum game study, which was conducted in 1983, the study concludes that people are willing to prosecute those who act unfairly. And so what is the real life consequence of this? Is that managers could be demotivated, they might have decreased morale, and this kind of behavior is very detrimental to the organization. Right. And we believe that there's room for improvement in this category. So last one is, does CEO incentive pay does high incentive pay work for CEOs? Does it really work? A study done by Bertrand and Mullenithan in 2001 shows that incentive compensation has an ambiguous relationship with performance. Some CEOs, many executives, are awarded not based on their performance, but by luck. Consider for example, the apparel market in Asia, the luxury goods market. A CEO may be awarded not because of his contributions, because of his skills, but because of an industrial uplift and increasing trend. So how do you know? Lastly, there's been another study by Blassie and Cruz, and their studies show that perks actually distract CEOs. CEOs may want to look to purchase luxury homes, wonderful cars, materialistic items that actually distract them from the performance and strategy of a company. And having high incentive pay actually encourages unethical actions. For example, a CEO, in preparation for annual report, may cook the books. He may want to delay liabilities and inflate revenues just a little bit, just so that he can meet analysts' forecasts and expectations. So these kind of issues that we believe we can improve, and my colleague will talk about the solution for that.
Thank you, Jonathan. Ladies and gentlemen, as we have discussed yesterday, that our CEO made $30 million a year in 2015, and people are questioning, is there any ethical challenge in this kind of pay and this compensation structure? So we are here to provide our suggestion. Our suggestion to this problem is to enable and to encourage our board of directors and the compensation committee to be able and to have a say in the decision making as well as the evaluation of the CEO compensation structure. So first of all, we suggest that we introduce the debt payment into the compensation structure. And secondly, we suggest that we introduce the ESG parameter into our evaluation. So ultimately, this will lower the equity award in our current compensation structure, as well as to encourage the CEO to pay more attention for the longer term. So first of all, the debt payment. Debt payment will align the CEO's interest with the interest of our bondholders. When our CEO makes decision making in debt financing, he will consider more about the debt holders, and this will minimize the ethical issue here. And secondly, the ESG parameter. The ESG stands for the environmental, the social, and the corporate governance issues. So for environmental, we consider that we should consider the emission as well as the efficiency management of the resources. And for the social, we consider the employment. The employment stands for the health and safety of our employee, the fairness in the working opportunity, as well as the promotion opportunity. As well as also we consider the training opportunity for our employment. Besides that, we consider other operation issues, especially the anti-corruption and transparency in our business with our suppliers. And last, we consider community. Are we doing good business with the local suppliers? Are we doing good to employ the local worker from our neighborhood or community? So this issue, the environmental and social issue, we can weight them with some ratio in our current compensation structure. Last but not least, we suggest to implement a more strict performance management. So we consider this as an upgrade of our current compensation policy, that is the clawback policy, which is used by most of companies. We suggest to upgrade it. We suggest that the CEO and the stakeholders and the board of directors, we sit together, we talk about what is the long-term good, what is the really good organic growth of our company. How can we create a better working morale in our working place? And then we consider about what is the ultimate good for our opportunity. And with this strict performance management, we are sure to prevent the CEO from pursuing the short-term and even personal and interest and minimize his ethical challenge. And my colleague Vasu will talk about why this will happen.
Thank you, Tony. So one of the base underlying reasons for the suggestion is that the agency theory that's been in effect for CEO compensation pay has been flawed. We've seen over the last 10 years the ratio between an unskilled worker and a CEO raised from 100 to 350 as a ratio within America. One of the key aspects of the agency theory is that a CEO's pay should be linked specifically to performance. That is, that the company works purely within isolation. But we can see this in society right now with the backlash that's happened with regards to the pay, that you're part of a bigger community. What people fail to understand is that the shareholders aren't the only stakeholders with any business. There are three more. You got to look at government, you got to look at your employees, you also have to look at society on a whole. So the entire recommendation that we have today is trying to align the CEO's pay, not just with shareholders, but also with all the other stakeholders that are involved within a society as well as in the community. More importantly, we've already seen through a number of studies that it doesn't really work. We've seen with our organization where we saw a spike purely for industrial reasons of 200% within the CEO's pay versus 3 to 6% with other CEOs. Is that justified? Is that ethical? Are there ways that we can mitigate these scenarios? And we believe that whatever suggestions that we have made today align all of those demands from the CEO with what is expected out of the company and society. A bigger reason for this is also there's a huge opportunity, especially within ESG, as well as debt repayments. purely from a new market standpoint. We can see that smoking, for example, in America has already reduced, but the markets are now shifting more to Southeast Asia. With Philip Morris and British American Tobacco entering these markets, Vector Group also needs to start looking and expanding. When you start entering these new markets, for the board, it is advisable as a business to concentrate on ESG, especially for these unskilled workers in dilapidated towns with extremely bad working conditions, to try and uplift them in society. So it makes it a lot easier for them when it comes to government regulations to be on the right side of the law as opposed to the wrong side. In conclusion, what we believe that the board should do is take some extreme measures compared to what the rest of the society is doing as well as the rest of the companies. We're following traditional methods. British American Tobacco has already incorporated ESG into their CEO compensation, but we're also suggesting that we try some new frontiers so that we can not stay within the archaic compensation structure but move towards something a little healthier and sustainable. Thank you.